Isang makasaysayang tagumpay ang naitala ng Pilipinas. Matapos ang halos 4 na dekada, opisyal nang kinilala ang bansa bilang isang upper middle income country, isang mahalagang milestone na sumasalamin sa patuloy na paglago ng ekonomiya at sa sipag, tiyaga at katatagan ng milyon-milyong Pilipino.
Magandang araw sa aking mga minamahal na kababayan. For years, Filipinos have worked hard to build this country. Today, the world has taken notice. The Philippines has officially become an upper middle income country. After nearly 4 decades as a lower middle income country since 1987, this milestone affirms that the economic policies that we have pursued over the past 4 years have been effective. Our steady economic growth, broadly stable currency, and long-term reforms have strengthened our economy even amid global uncertainties. It validates the progress that we have made and the resilience of the Filipino people. It is also a vote of confidence in our country's future. Greater confidence means more investments. More investments means more businesses, better quality jobs, and more opportunities for Filipino families. This is worth celebrating because economic progress is not meant to stay on paper. It is meant to open doors, put food on the table, and give every Filipino the chance to build a better life. That is the work that we will continue to do until every family feels the benefit of our country's progress. Maraming salamat.
DepEd or Department of Economy, Planning and Development Undersecretary for Policy and Planning, Rosemary Dillon.
So itong upper middle income status nga, this is actually a classification being used by the World Bank, no, para i-classify niya yung mga countries according to income. Tapos ng income na to, well, first of all, yung gross national income siya, no. So ibig sabihin, kasama dito yung income ng ating mga OFW. So lahat po ng nationals ng Philippines kasama po dito, which is different from the gross domestic product. Kasi yung gross domestic product, kung ano lang po yung na-produce domestically in the Philippines. So this is gross national income divided by the total number of nationals of the Philippines. And then, so this is actually also corrected for cost of living differences, so that it doesn't matter where you are in the world, that income will actually be able to afford you that same level of goods and services kahit even though you are in the advanced countries. So in some cases, for some investors, they still look at individual indicators of what we call macroeconomic fundamentals, but others just look on the income classification. So in this case, being an upper middle income country, it actually brings us into that bucket of those some sort of a seal of good standing with respect to income. So this one will actually also attract some investments, and therefore hopefully it will also bring about the quality jobs that we want. What we call limitations of an average, what an average really is. Kasi titingnan nga po natin yung the income of all Filipinos. So it doesn't matter kung ikaw yung nandun sa bottom of the income ladder o ikaw yung nandun sa taas.
Opo.
Pero on average po, ang nakita rin namin is, well, on average, syempre nakita nga na tumaas, no? Pero kung titingnan din po natin yung latest na Family Income and Expenditure Survey, tumaas din naman po yung incomes ng mga nasa baba. In terms of percentage, mas mataas din po yung tinaas nila. Pero syempre, pag inano mo yan in terms of levels, hindi pa rin yan ganoon kataas. So kumbaga may mga naging there has been progress across all levels, but of course it's not uniform sa lahat ng mga tao. The challenge really is to be able to sustain this, na sana patuloy yung pagtaas. This is really a milestone, no? Kasi it's mga 40 years in the
Yes.
making to. So, ang challenge natin is patuloy pa yung yung pagtaas ng income na to. The first thing that we need to do now, at in right away, is to accelerate yung spending on capital spending, especially of government. Kasi this one will increase our capacity to grow. So we need to invest more on infrastructure para mas mas malaki yung magiging capacity natin. We can have more trade, we can have more shipments, we can actually entertain more visitors, tourists, ganyan. At the same time, we need to invest a lot on human capital kasi ito rin talaga magdadala sa atin to the next level. So we need to invest in upskilling of our human capital kasi ang gusto nga natin is the quality jobs, but we cannot have the quality jobs if we do not invest in the upskilling of our people. So malaking bagay itong human capital investments natin, not just on education but also on health. And then of course yung social protection, as you know, ang dami nating calamities coming our way. Ngayon pa lang marami na, no? And every time there's a calamity, bumabalik tayo no? Medyo nare-reverse yung gains natin. So we have to do a lot in terms of being able to recover quickly and better para the next time the same calamity, hopefully not, comes, we will come out stronger. So ang isa rin sa namin dito is we need to really aggressively promote innovation as a driver of economic growth. Kasi habang nag-a-advance ang ating country, dapat padami yung yung magiging variety of products and services that we can actually produce and we can commercialize. So dito papasok yung innovation. Na kadikit din ito yung investments natin on research and development, pati na rin yung mga sa mga researchers natin, and of course yung mga tinatawag namin na innovation infrastructure including on technology. And that is why we are really looking at improving the productivity of our people, of our economy. And pag sinasabi po natin productivity, ang kakambal po talaga nito is technology adoption. No, so para imbis na kunwari nananahi ka using a very very parang slow sewing machine, nandoon ka na sa high speed, yon. So at the same time na nakaka-produce ka ng mas marami, mas nagiging productive, mas marami rin yung magiging kita mo. So in everything actually malaking susi dito yung investment in technology, and as much as possible gusto sana natin mga homegrown technology, and that's the reason why we want to promote innovation amongst our people, and then yun na rin yung technology adoption. So kaya nandiyan din yung investment natin, let's say on the Luzon Economic Corridor. Ito mga high-tech industries ang gusto natin dito. So para naman maging ma-optimize natin yung pagkakaroon natin ng Luzon Economic Corridor, ang kailangan talaga dito, meron tayong workforce development program para yung mga magtatrabaho dito ay manggagaling din sa atin, manggagaling din sa hanay ng Pinoy. Hangga't maaari nga pwede nating ma-encourage yung ating mga OFWs to come back kasi alam natin sila meron na ng know-how na yan para makatulong na sila dito sa atin. Kasi dalawang bagay po yun, yung domestic production tsaka yung sa national income. So kung magiging malaki naman po yung yung sa domestic production natin, kahit na mas maliit yung ambag ng GNI, so parang nung net primary income, on the whole magiging mas malaki pa rin po yun. Yeah, yung sa preferential tariff rate, by and large, that really depends on whether or not we have a free trade agreement, no? And for the past couple or 2 or 3 years, we have been very aggressive in negotiating many bilateral trade agreements. I think for this year we will be able to close if not 3 or 4 na mga bilateral trade agreements natin, and mga regional na trade agreements. So wala po tayong problema sa sa preferential tariff arrangements natin, no? Now, with respect to concessional loans, this one, ang pagkakaalam po namin is we will be given a grace period, mga 3 years po 'yun. So where we can transition. Kasi what this also means is that pwede na kasi tayong magkaroon ng mga commercial placements with respect to raising capital. So hindi na tayo kailangan pumunta sa mga yung mga ODA natin, pwede na tayo mag-go commercial. And big sabihin, we will actually have more options, but that also means that we need to improve the quality of our investments para maging attractive to the international investors. At the same time, we also need to demonstrate na kaya nating magbayad. So kailangan natin pagbutihin palalo, no, yung ating fiscal prudence, yung ating mga macroeconomic fundamentals, at malaki actually magiging papel dito ng private sector natin, kasi kailangan makapag-demonstrate sila ng that mas mataas na ability to earn returns.
But that's going to be a challenging, if not terrifying, gamble in the next 3 years if we don't step up. And we lose the ODA.
Because going
Ang laki ng
commercial,
ODA natin eh. Do you have a ballpark figure? How much
yeah.
might be at stake kung sakasakala within the next 3 years?
Yeah. Tama po yun, and that's the reason why naging very active din naman kami very active and strategic, no, with respect to tapping our ODA, specifically the sort of mga projects where may advantage yung ating development partners. Like for instance, yung mga subway, mukhang mas maganda nga yatang development partner ang kausap natin doon, para they will also provide the expertise, no? Yung mga airports natin, para magaganda rin, mga state of the art. Ganun yung ginawa natin sa very strategic tayo sa pagtap ng ODA. And the reason for that also is so that the sort of infrastructure that we will be developing is actually pwede nating ipagmalaki na this consistent with our UMIC status. For the most part, it will actually be kumbaga aligned na dapat with their priorities. Meron din kasi ngayon na ang nagiging appetite ngayon ng mga investors, especially kung sa European, no, yung mga green financing. So if we can have programs or projects na where we can show that it actually is a sustainable development sort of financing or project, na it will be it's leading towards, let's say, circular economy or yung mga renewable energy project. Ito po, may appetite pa rin po dito ang mga even commercial lenders at that, and they are willing to give concessional rates for this.
Halimbawa yung Japan yen loan, that's our biggest ODA package. Eligible pa ba tayo doon kung sakasakali after 3 years?
It really depends on the appetite din ng Japanese investors, kasi sa ngayon itong the past years kasi masyadong mababang interest rate sa Japan. So ibig sabihin, kung magpautang sila sa kanilang mga Japanese investors din, ang baba ng pwede nilang i-charge. And so dagdagan nila ng konti, yun na yung sa atin, may konti pa rin silang kita. So depende pa rin po. But what we know is with respect to Japan, marami pa rin ho tayo na common interests eh. So I think we can still benefit. Yeah, it is still the element of syempre yung cautious optimism natin, no. We have done some calculations, but it really hinges on us being able to catch up on government spending for this second half of the year, and I think that's actually in the work plan of our infrastructure agencies. Nakita rin naman natin na nagre-ramp up sila. So kasi nga may pag government spending kasi may validity yung budget eh. So kailangan talaga nilang spend yun eh. So we're banking on that, and of course we already have as you know modest na population growth. So isa rin yun sa that's another thing going for us.
Yusek, can I just come back to Ami's question? So I take it to mean DepDev does not yet have an estimate for the potential ODA or grants or any other concessional financing loss. Wala pa pong estimate.
Yeah, at least for the next 3 years, we are sure that nandun pa tayo sa grace period.
Okay.
And then the strategy really going forward is to align our sort of yung mga projects natin that's up for international financing with the development priorities of the creditor. So like I said, yung mga sustainable financing. So yun ang pwede nating we can raise capital internationally.
Yeah.
As for the rest, dito natin sa sa local i-raise. Kaya kasama rin talaga dito, we need to what we call deepen yung ating capital market, no? Kailangan natin ng inclusive financing, kailangan pa rin natin ng mas marami pa na maging entrepreneur ng mga Pilipino, not just hindi lang yung sila mismong magbi-business, no, pero pwedeng sila yung makikibigay ng kapital para sa
Yeah.
business. So
But-
kailangan din natin ng very innovative na mga banks that will offer other investment options para sa mga yung mga kayang mag-invest.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying about when you said we can go commercial now, meaning we can tap the commercial markets to borrow, but going commercial also means paying higher interest
Mas
rates,
mahal.
correct? Mas mahal siya.
Yes.
Are we ready for
Tama
that?
po 'yan. Tama po 'yan. So, and it really depends on yung returns, no, to our investment. And therefore, we really need to be able to package good projects. Like I said, for now, ang ating nakikita na na paraan is aligning yung mga projects na to with kung ano yung appetite ng ating mga development partners. So not even the commercial lenders, no, like I said, yung mga renewable energy projects, yung mga circular economy na mga projects na to, eto merong may appetite dito mga commercial lenders. Talking about the middle class, no, so you mentioned nga yung isang reason nga rin to na nakita na rin ng World Bank. We have actually an increasing middle class, except that sa ngayon nandun pa sila sa vulnerable. So, ibig sabihin, ang talagang kailangan po is ma-improve yung kanilang resilience. So we have to offer them access to inclusive financing. Tapos syempre nakita niyo naman po na nagkaroon na rin ng wage increase, no, in NCR, and magkakasunod na rin po to sa ibang regions, although we don't know yet kung magkano magiging agreement pag sa ibang regions, but this will be part of that. Tapos nandun din naman po yung mga mga program natin, let's say on although hindi sila mag-qualify for the ayuda, but there are still programs, let's say, with respect to healthcare, with respect to education assistance, and then for our MSMEs, marami rin pong programa ang DTI para makatulong po sa ating mga small businesses.